Happy Friday, y'all. Today's topics: history of SEO, future of SEO, and international SEO agencies. Today's topics: the history of SEO, future of SEO, and international SEO agencies. Bruce, I see you.
Oh, that's scary. I kind of see you too. You're in there somewhere.
All right. So I'm going through the regular countdown right now. Let me put this music down a little bit. So I go through. We got about 9 minutes to go. There's already people in chat saying hi, but I will introduce you in about 6 minutes in the show. I go through some video clips in the beginning, and then I'll go ahead and introduce you.
Sure.
All right. We have Bruce in the back.
I should sound really good for you.
Yes, you do.
I am wired, so I don't expect it to be a problem.
Sounds good.
Instead of doing it at home, I'm now in the office, only because I have like more bandwidth than God that I can't use for any other purpose.
All right, let's see what's up to everyone in the chat. Thomason, what's up? We have Stefan, happy Friday. Carol Fry, hello. Anastasia says, hi Bruce, hi Dre, hello. Kobe Holland, what's up everyone? What's up Kobe? All right, Bradley, my mastermind brother. Happy Friday. All right, today's topics, we'll be talking about history of SEO, the future of SEO, and starting an international SEO agency, and so much more. Get your questions ready. We have the father of SEO in the back room, ready to answer any of your questions. Hobby, I know you have a lot of them out there. Get them ready. All right, we got about 7 more minutes to go. Be sure to say hi, where you're from. Don't be shy. Say hi. What's up, everyone? I see a few of you out there. Don't be shy. Say hi. Happy Friday, y'all. So was everything okay, Bruce, from the last time you were supposed to have a show?
Yeah.
Everything was okay? That's good.
It turns out everything was okay. The power went out. I mean, obviously.
Oh, man.
That is not as unusual as it seems. I had just moved to a new house, and they get high winds up there.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, I was able to, because somebody else, their schedules got screwed up, I was able to get a generator installed in my house.
Nice.
So I'll not have a power failure anymore when the power company decides to not have fires. We get a lot of fires.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm from California too. I'm over here in Oakland, the North Bay.
Yeah. Well, I spent 14 years in San Jose and Silicon Valley area. So.
Yeah, I think I first met you at one. I think it was a Search Engine Strategies or SES. I think that's an old conference back in the days. I don't know. One of those conferences we were at a round table. I mean, it was years ago.
It's surprising. I constantly get people who say, "Yeah, I remember. I took one of your classes in 2004." Like, I should remember.
All right, guys, we got about 4 more minutes to go. We see everyone piling in here. Again, don't be shy. Say hi. And get your questions ready. Did you get a chance to see? Well, it was actually from our first. I sent an email with just some topics I wanted to cover. Did you get that? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I went through it. It's not a problem. I can answer virtually any kind of question you have. So.
Love it.
I hope you don't mind me winging all of them, but I don't have any prepared answers, but I'll be fine.
Oh no, it's all about you. It's all about your journey. So I think this will be really, really.
It should be easy.
Yeah.
I was there, so.
Yeah. We have Thomason dancing. Oh yeah. We got about 3 more minutes, guys. Where are you guys from? Thomason, where are you from? Oh yeah. History of SEO, the future of SEO, and starting an international SEO agency. Oh, Thomason's all the way from Nigeria. I know Hobby's all the way up from Poland. Bradley's from Canada. We got the whole world out here for you, Bruce. Oh, Tim Rourke, my buddy. Tim from Cincinnati, Ohio. All right, guys, coming close. Get ready. We got about 1 more minute to go. I'll go over the quick video clips this past week, and then I'll introduce our guest today. Get your last minute shout outs, guys. Let me know where you're from. We had a little shyer crowd today. Come on, guys. All right, we got 10 seconds to go.
Started, no delay, let's work. Wanna see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre De Vera, steady dropping knowledge. Over 15 years in the game, so he knows all about it. Master the art of SEO, you will be amazed. Time to get your brand off page to on page. Dropping knowledge, legendary for sure. Whether you're just getting started or self-employed entrepreneur. Yeah, let's go. Subscribe to the SEO video show.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the SEO video show where SEO is alive and fun. My name is Paul Andre De Vera, aka Dre, and I curate SEO videos released in the past week into about 1-minute clips. My favorite part of the show is when I get to introduce my guest, and my guest this week is the CEO of Bruce Clay Inc., Bruce Clay. Before we get started, I want to say what's up to everyone in chat. I say Tim, Thomason, Hobby, Bradley, Stefan, Anastasia, Carol, Kobe. Hello, everyone. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Now let's get on with the show.
This is Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. Why do SEOs love the farmer's market? Lots of organic content.
The majority of the SEO videos published this week were about sitemaps, indexing, and crawl budgets. Let's listen on John Mullers' sitemap and indexing tips.
Pratmesh asks if there's a simple guide for sitemaps available. Unfortunately, there's no common simple solution that works across all kinds of websites. However, most website setups have simple sitemap solutions of their own. Check your site's documentation for a sitemap setting or for a plugin that creates sitemap files. Often it's just a matter of turning that on and you're all set. Janko asks if having RSS feeds is problematic for crawling since Googlebot fetches them so often. The short answer is no, these are not problematic. Google systems balance crawling across a website automatically. Sometimes this means crawling some pages more often, but this only happens once we've looked at the important ones already.
My guest today released a video on how to manage your crawl budget, and it's pretty helpful sitemap tips. Let's check and see what the father of SEO had to say.
The way to set up a XML and the way to set up your crawl budget and manage it. New pages are first. Redirects are second. Deleted pages are third, and the things that have never changed ever are last. That means you almost need to have your XML sitemap built based upon frequency of change. And what will happen is people build an XML sitemap, and half of the first XML sitemap is things that haven't been changed in 3 months. And you're essentially burning your crawl budget by having the search engine look at things that have not changed. You have to build it correctly. Now, managing your crawl budget, part of it is actually managing your XML sequencing.
Love it. If you have any more questions on crawl budget, we can ask our guest today. Next, Fabrice Canel, Mr. BingBot, dropped a Kalicube Knowledge Nugget this week on indexing through APIs. Let's check it out.
But as I told you, the second thing is sites will help us. It's all about API integration moving forward. We will solve crawling on large sites and small sites, very small site by integration into content management system, API integration. We are working on that. This will be game changer. And we will continue to do machine learning and things like this on other sites, but clearly this is the direction we are headed.
If you haven't seen the project that he's referring to, I believe he's working on it's with other search engines called Index Now. So check out indexnow.org. This past week, AHREFS released a video about 5 things in SEO that are not important. And I was going to go off on every single one of the 5 points. And check this out. When I went to go grab the video, That's what I got. So what they mentioned was like entities were not important, were not necessary. Word count didn't matter. Exact match domains did not work, and social signals are not necessary. I have proof that any of those things would actually help boost your rankings. I push rankings with social signals alone. However, I will say these social signals were coming from high authority personas. My go-to resource for actual ranking factor tests is from Ted Kavitis, whatever he puts out. And on SEO Fight Club this past week, he put out primary on-page factors from recent tests. Let's check it out.
The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
And so I went through the source and I kind of looked at all of the places they were tuning. And so the noteworthy ones were, title tag, URLs, headings, image file names, their sentence tuning, strong tags, anchor tags. They also made heavy use of keywords in, paragraph, bold, strong, span, and LI. These grayed out ones, they used to work, but they don't work anymore, according to recent testing. So this is kind of like, I guess, legacy SEO that wouldn't help you today, but used to work a year or more ago. And then these blue italic ones, they are beneficial, but they don't generally work the way most people think they work. So they don't, contribute to keyword density, and it's not really about stuffing. They kind of work in a different way than that.
Be sure to check out the full video at SEO Fight Club. That was the last video for this week, which brings me to my favorite part of the show. Please ask questions and I will address them in the order that they were received. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell while I get things ready here. Bruce is the founding father of search engine optimization as one of the first people to popularize the term. In 1996, he started Bruce Clay Inc., an internet marketing solutions company from his house. Today, the company has offices in US, Europe, Japan, West Asia, and India. He speaks at leading conferences and conducts training courses for students worldwide. His insights have been featured on the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, PS Week, Wired Magazine, Smart Money, and many, many more. He is the author of Search Engine All for One, All for Dummies, and Content Marketing Strategies for Professionals. In 2013, Clay received the Lifetime Achievement Award of Excellence in Vision, Execution, and Marketing Influence in the practice of search marketing. Please welcome the father of SEO, Bruce Clay. Bruce, my man, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Wow, I don't think I've ever seen that collection of videos of me before. You must have been hunting for weeks.
Oh yeah. I put that all together for you, just for you. And thank you. You are like the father of SEO. I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you.
All right. So I wanted to get right into where this is the first question I ask all my SEO professionals that come on here. In 1 minute, how does Bruce get ranking on page one?
Well, I would say I spam, but I don't do that. The hardest thing about ranking on the first page is understanding your competition for that ranking. We usually start with long tail keywords and work our way up to the head terms. Somewhere in the journey, you end up transitioning somewhat from transactional to informational structure and format. But if you understand the nature of your competitors for each keyword, you just really want to be least imperfect. And we focus on that individual battle. You got to remember, your website is not the battle. Your website is nothing more than a weapon that you bring to the Google SEO battle. So you sharpen your weapon and then you go do war, right?
Love
and if you want to rank, the best thing to do is pay attention to all the details. There's 300 variables in the algorithm. You just got to do it right. And you really want to be least imperfect.
Thank you for that first knowledge bomb. All right. I want to take this back. I want to rewind this real quick. Take us all the way back to when did you first learn of SEO?
Wow. I didn't really learn of SEO. Back in January of 96, I was thinking I wanted to be a consultant. I had been in Silicon Valley doing things for a while, and I decided rather than work for somebody, I was going to work for myself, looking to be a consultant. I had this vision of finding something that was going to be growing. I don't know if you recall, back in January of 96, that's when Al Gore invented the internet. Way back when. Right? All of a sudden, there's an internet, and it'll catch on. And my background is a programmer. Mm-hmm. I have, an MBA. I understood marketing, but I was a programmer. And along comes this thing called a search engine. And I recognized the marketing potential. I recognized that it's an algorithm, therefore it can be reverse engineered. I started looking for what did work, eliminated what didn't. And I actually started doing what at the very, very first didn't have a name.
Yeah.
Those of us there for some of the first conferences, even Danny Sullivan was like 3 years later. Those of us at the first conferences referred to it as search engine ranking.
Oh.
And my background prior to that is heavy systems optimization. I worked for an optimization company, then I went to work for a mainframe company that was super high performance. I worked for Acer. I did networking. I did a lot of different things. But the most fun I ever had was being able to change somebody's website and they shoot to the top. Mm-hmm. And so we started doing that. Nobody really knows about the first conversation around search engine optimization as a term. Mm-hmm. I think I have the earliest registered copyright containing it, but there's other people that may have talked about it, and it's nebulous as to, okay, I put it on one web page, I said it one time, I never promoted it, did I invent it? Mm-hmm. You don't know when people talk about it, or if they heard me talking about it, or I heard somebody else. You don't know. But January 96 is when I started doing it, mm-hmm. and I didn't do web design and work my way into SEO. I went straight into SEO, and I've been doing it ever since.
Love it. So we can say that you coined the term SEO, right?
Right.
Love it.
Danny Sullivan gave me credit for that.
Oh, so there you have it, guys.
I'm going to keep it.
There you have it, guys. The father of SEO right here. And so I'm curious, take us to how did you become the father of SEO? Because was this how did you become the father of SEO? I mean, right. If you search it, we see it.
That's right. I don't really have so much of an ego about the father of SEO, but I'm too much of a marketer to give it up.
Love it.
Who would ever give that up? Right?
Yep.
So I fell in love with SEO, mm-hmm. and I really aggressively promoted it. I started conference speaking, and I wrote a book, and I really got into it. And the people, including yourself, that 15 years ago, you see it, you go to conferences, that's how you learn about it. Mm-hmm. And I was very heavily involved in it. And I think that the reason I'm called the father of SEO is because I'm the only one that ever really, really was everywhere. I mean, every time you turn around, I'm at this conference, I'm at that conference, yeah. I'm promoting it, I'm blogging about it, I have a website giving away free information about it. I really, treated it as, this is a nurturing exercise, if mm-hmm. you will. And it was nice that people started thinking of me as being the father, although I'm sometimes referred to as grandfather, which just makes me older. But it's nice. It's really nice that people appreciate I did so much to try to educate everybody. And I think I've spoken at over 300 conference sessions. I don't know, however many people might have done more or if they were as vocal about the importance, but that's what I think qualified me.
Love it, love it. Yeah, and I remember you had even smaller conferences you were there. I think it was even like at some of them were like smaller hotels. Yeah, it was great watching you on stage and learning a lot from you back then. And I mean, are you like right from there? Now let's take us to the history of like Bruce Clay Inc. Like it's an international known agency now. I mean, you have offices everywhere. I was looking at your YouTube. You have like a different YouTube channels for different areas. Yeah, tell us like how you expanded and how it started all from your house.
Well, I was only in my house for a while. Most, areas, you can do things in your house, but the city has ordinances against running a large company from a residence, right? You can only have family members or 2 other members or whatnot. And I outgrew it. The suites I'm in now, I actually at one point got up to 12 of them. So the U.S. grew. The number of people that I've employed over the years has grown and shrank and grown and shrank. We've survived in almost 26 years. There were 3 recessions, 2 wars, and a virus.
Yep.
And maybe some more. And, you grow as you grow. But I think it's because I was so vocal about SEO and its importance that I was recognized throughout Europe and Australia, any English-speaking area. They understood who I was. And people came to us saying, how do I get on this? How do I become a Bruce Clay International office?
Yep.
So rather than franchise, this is sort of a secret part here. Rather than franchising, what I did was I went with a license. Just like, Microsoft licenses.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh.
I mean, I went with a license, and they were able to operate under the license as Bruce Clay Australia, or Bruce Clay Japan, or Bruce Clay, MENA, Middle East, North Africa. And these offices had support. We sent them contracts. We sent them training. I would go and do the training there. By the way, one of the things you always do when you open an international office is make sure it's a place that you want to vacation at.
Oh.
Don't open an office if you don't want to go there. And
love it.
So I would go and I would do training around the world, and it would just become more popular, and the brand grew. And that's how we ended up with the popularity we have worldwide, because the brand was promoted strongly and SEO was promoted. And it was made to work very, very nicely. So, and if anybody's listening, I really am interested in having offices in every country in Europe. I don't have one now. So I'm okay with expansion. It's good. The fundamental thing about becoming bigger and bigger and bigger is that you end up not wanting to focus on a particular vertical or not wanting to limit who your clientele are. And we have large clients and we have small clients and people working out of their house and public companies, and they're all over the board. And I think that gives us the ability to learn and stay current better than many people. Mm-hmm. And that works well. Now, if I can go on a tangent real fast, about 4 years ago, prospects would call us up and say they're tired of knowing more than their agency because they are like us. They grew up doing SEO, then they went in-house, and they would hire an agency because they needed help, and the agency would have interns. And these are people with 10, 12, 15 years experience. Mm-hmm. So I pivoted my company. Right now, every single SEO and pay-per-click person has a minimum of 10 years experience.
Got it.
All my analysts, I don't even interview under 10 years.
Wow.
You got 15 plus years? Send me your app. We're on Indeed. But we're going to be able to answer the questions that people ask.
Mm-hmm.
And we're able to take the few people that know to contact us, we're able to take their sites up because we have expertise. And so I position the company that way. And the reason I'm telling that is because I found that the other nations in the world are not quite as sophisticated.
Mm-hmm.
And like you go into Dubai, and as you know, Arabic is a different structure and everything else. You don't really do SEO because SEO 101 works there like a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to do the deep dives quite as deep to be able to rank.
Mm-hmm.
Then in like Tokyo, which is a double bit language, we changed all of our tools so that our tools will work on Japanese.
Oh.
And we can parse language, even though the characters are together.
Mm-hmm.
We use a morphological dictionary like Google to parse it into words to figure out what you're talking about. And then we can do SEO. But no other SEO company in Japan can do that. And so a lot of the international flavor
Mm-hmm.
was driven by everybody knew who we were. They wanted to be associated, which is wonderful. They knew SEO was a good future growth opportunity. Then we ran into the language. We overcame the languages, and now we're in the regions able to support them. And I think that's how we grew internationally.
Love it. Love it. All right, we're getting a bunch of questions in the live chat. I want to go ahead and get to them really quickly. Stefan has one here. Hi, Bruce. How do you manage the team?
Well, our team right now is mostly remote. As I said, we had grown to 12 offices here in the U.S. We are now in 2 offices, and the primary reason is one of them is a big warehouse that holds 10 suites worth of desks and chairs. And by the way, if anybody needs staplers, I've got tons of them. Okay, everybody's remote. And I'll tell you right now, in our industry, we're fortunate that we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody loves it. So we're fully remote. We have morning huddles every day. Everybody dials in and everybody says, this is what I'm working on. These are my problems. These are what I solved.
Mm-hmm.
Can I help you? It's a team thing.
Nice.
We use a lot of Slack, including some channels that are just, posting cat pictures. We try to sort of still have the water cooler approach to being able to do it. And everybody gets along. And where it's necessary or appropriate, we have multi-person projects to keep people involved. Now, fortunately, with everybody being pretty senior, I don't face the burden of how do you train somebody remotely.
Got it.
Because that is really a big part of the problem. And training people remotely is very, very, very difficult.
Yep.
At best. Now, a couple of things. For all my life, I've been very big on training and mentoring and helping people and answering questions. I've been very big on that. And I love having interns of my own and having people that I can develop and grow. And I think that's important for the industry. But in order for our business to work at the level it works at, I needed senior people.
Yep.
So one of the things I did was I built, I always had a classroom course. I converted it to SEOtraining.com.
Oh.
I thought that was a clever name. I owned it. I might as well build it, right?
Yeah.
So SEO Training is actually a membership site. I don't believe that training is a once and done thing. Just like SEO is never done, training is never done. So what we did is we set it up as a membership site, and you can come take the training course. It's 46 modules. And then 3 weeks later, you could take it again and again. You know, you're a member, you take it over and over and over again. And we have webinars and Ask Us Anythings. A lot of the Ask Us Anythings are up. People are to sign up to our YouTube channel. Love to have you. We have ebooks. We have all sorts of stuff that we've built into that particular training environment. So SEO training is now a video on-demand course that you could take over and over and over. The problem is that a lot of the people learn by asking questions. And an on-demand video course sort of cut that out. So part of the membership is every month I actually have a Q&A, a 1-hour Q&A, Ask Us Anything. And so that's my Q&A from the training class. And we put it up, and the history of the Q&As are up there. But going back, if you hire mature people, they bring to the company the fact that you're not training them online. You're not having the trial and error problems that you would have with them being right next to you. You can train them, but remote is hard. But the training curriculum is designed to help you with that. So I still kind of feel that I help people learn all about SEO and get ahead. But at the same time, I'm able to service the impossible missions that our clients come up with.
Love it, love it. Okay, guys, if you got over 10 years of experience, send your applications to Bruce Clay, and you can possibly get become the Bruce Clay Empire. We have Maj in the chat. It says, "Hi, Dre. Hi, Bruce. What's up, Maj?" Okay, I want to go to another question that came up here. We have one by Leon, and he asked, "What are some of the main differences between SEO in the 90s versus SEO in the 2000s, 2010?
Wow. Well, first of all, I believe that every Monday it's a new industry. Google can't change the algorithm 4,000 times a year without having some serious changes occur. In the 90s, when I started, now in 96, let's back up. At 96, there was no Google. Google didn't happen until 99, September of 99. So I'm 3 years older than Google. So what we had back then was InfoSeek, Excite, AltaVista, right? Right around 2000, I did the first search engine relationship chart, which was total chaos. Every search engine was feeding results, and they were taking results from wherever. And the algorithms were exceptionally primitive, right? You put the words in the right spot, and it was words. You put words in the right spot, and you would rank.
Like what spots?
And links didn't drive hardly anything.
What were some of the spots you just put the words in?
Well, you put it in the title, the heading tag, 4 times in the body, once had to be in the first 200 words, and you have an internal link to it with that as the anchor text, and suddenly you're in the first page. And InfoSeek was great in the 90s because you could actually edit your page, submit it to InfoSeek. It would be in the index within 60 seconds. So what you could do is change and see the effect, and then you change again. And that's how a lot of the early SEOs learned, because you could try everything and see what worked at InfoSeek. And then when Google came out, it turned out that most of those same things worked at Google. So yeah, you'd put it in various tags, and it wasn't that hard, and content was simpler, and you just had to, put it. You just had to make it so that the search engine saw the word wherever they looked, but not so many times as to be spammy. All right, so that was really the balance. In the 2000s, we started getting into Google defending itself. Think this way: if I could buy a link and it would influence me to be on the first page, eventually the entire first page is whoever has the most money for links, not the best answer. So Google had no alternative but to put in place the quality team and defend itself. And they started coming up with the rules that said, okay, link farms are bad and purchase links are bad. And they did what they could. And we found that in the Google world, links really were disproportionately important. I'd say on-page and links were equal, and speed of your server hardly didn't even matter.
Yep.
Right? As long as you didn't link into a bad neighborhood, you were okay. I mean, if it was clearly spam, you paid the price. We get into the 2010s, and now Google's more sophisticated. And they started turning on things like RankBrain and artificial intelligence and figuring out that sentiment really does say that person hates you versus loves you. Mm-hmm. And they started doing things like that. And that's where they started biasing towards trust factors and biasing towards, are you an expert? Links were really, really important. But at the flip side, that's when they started killing off exact match domains. Mm-hmm. Exact match domains, if you had one and it was legacy, you were fine. If you had one that was a trademark, it was fine. If you had one that was a brand, it was fine. But if all you did is, purple left-handed dog collars with a diamond.com, and that was all your content, that was spam. Mm-hmm. And so Google started putting in place a lot more rules, and the algorithm got more sophisticated. They rewrote it. That's where Hummingbird is the name of the entire algorithm, by the way. Mm-hmm. So that's where Hummingbird started coming in, and they had more interest in voice search, right? Where is the Seattle Space Needle? Is there an Italian restaurant near there? And the there they understood was Seattle, near the Space Needle. So you started seeing more semantic understanding, and it evolved to being more about themes than keywords. And the ability for a page to rank was really now biased by the community of pages that cross-link to it within your domain. And quality started having its own measurement. So if you had a low-quality domain, it would hurt you, right? Mm-hmm. Expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness became far more important. And then that evolved into where we are now, which is Google just changes things to change things. I don't know how many different teams, well over 100 different teams are messing in their algorithm at any one time. They run trials, they turn them on, turn it off. You don't really know when things are happening. Like today, actually I think it started yesterday morning, Google rolled out a whole update. It's going to go this whole week, which is the new spam update. Mm-hmm. Fighting spam, a whole new update for spam. So Google starts doing core updates, which is really the base algorithm. And then they're doing niche updates, which are what is, the nature of your content. Content is far more important. I don't think it's king, but maybe queen, because Google wants to know that, are you able to answer the question? Mm-hmm. Here's a tip for your fans. There's something called a fragment. Mm-hmm. We all know what it is. It's been around forever, but most people don't really think of it. It's the # targeting within a page where you can jump down into a page. Mm-hmm. Well, Google has referred to the ability to do what are called passage, I guess indexing is not the right word, but passage ranking. Mm-hmm. And essentially a passage is a fragment, mm-hmm. in my mind, at least. And that means that Google will index a part of a web page even if the rest of the web page is off target. So for certain keywords, you're going to find 3 sentences are what matters, not the whole page. So now what we have to do is go in and put in fragment links within our content and understand that the fragment, the first two sentences of every fragment, has got to be on point.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're able to potentially show up for a voice search or a featured snippet. Those kinds of things are going to be biased significantly by passage search going forward. So everybody pay attention to that.
Love it, love it. Thank you for that history lesson right there. Leon, I hope that answers your question and explaining that from 90s to present. Thank you for that. Okay, let's get on to more questions here. We have one from Stefan. Can Bruce help me understand what exactly Google is doing with sentiment as measured by the NLP API?
Okay. Well, sentiment in general goes back to a really bad example. And there was a New York Times article written about a site called Decor My Eyes. And what Decor My Eyes is a sunglass company that would buy knockoff, imitation sunglasses. And people would order from their website and they would send them these sunglasses. And sometimes they would send out the wrong brand entirely, not even the right knockoff. And they would send out broken sunglasses. And people would complain. And then the person would say, no, you broke them. And then they would complain. And then they'd say, no, we're not going to give you a refund. It's your fault. It's your problem. You do it. And they would complain. And then the guy would eventually say, okay, go to this website, write your complaint. Be sure to tell them never to buy from me. So what would happen is these people would go to websites, complain about the site, and put their URL in as a link.
Mm-hmm.
So this person was amassing all these links about sunglasses, and their rankings kept going up. So his marketing program was simply to infuriate enough people that his page rank jumped. Because they were all on brand name complaint sites, Yelp and, et cetera. And so what Google did was they responded and said, we can't tell necessarily if it's a complaint or praise, because they didn't have the technology at the time to be able to do that. And they had an interesting comment. They said, if we took out everybody that was a complaint, none of the political candidate sites would ever rank, which probably is true. So fast forward 10 years, and now Google has artificial intelligence. And they can tell that somebody says, this is an awesome site versus this is a terrible site. And so at a sentiment level, what Google is attempting to do is determine if it's praise or complaint. I mean, it's really not much harder than that. Now, that is, to me at least, filtered into a trust factor. There is no trust algorithmic factor, but trust matters. And there's other things in trust. I believe the Better Business Bureau rating is a trust factor. And, whether you've ever spammed Google is a trust factor. I mean, there's other trust factors. But I think that sentiment is an important characteristic. And if you can get a link to you that actually contains a positive description of you, I think that ultimately that will help. And that's inclusive of social media. Even though it's not a link, it's a mention.
Yep.
And affirmative mentions, I think, are not quite as powerful as a link, but positive all the same. So, yeah, sentiment matters.
Love it, love it. Brian says, those jump links or fragments are a beautiful thing. Glad to see Bruce touched on it. Love it. Thank you, Brian, for coming through. Okay, we want to go down here to Hobby. Hobby has a question here. Web 3.0 is the next stage of web evolution. Can we say that SEO is core of Web 3.0?
If SEO is the core of understanding and clarifying meaning and making it that you are a subject matter expert, it's every version of web, right? Now, Internet of Things is part of this, right? So I really don't think my refrigerator cares if I spam or not, unless I have spam in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I had to save that one up. But Really, there's going to be so many things out there that are going to try to give answers. I think the direction SEO contributes is somewhat towards, are we able to take the right answer and present it in a simple way so that anybody can understand it and not have it be as dependent. I think a lot of the APIs, by the way, you showed one of the clips of a person saying that the API will allow a direct feed.
Yeah.
Well, you don't even need a spider. You may not even need a website. You just need to deposit your knowledge. Yeah. And I think that as things progress, you're going to see a lot more leaning towards that.
Yep.
I sort of view that as the Star Trek computer approach to things. Free knowledge is an amazing thing. The problem Google has, and I'm just going to go to this, the problem Google has is that Google doesn't have 1 trillion experts. What they have right now are 1 trillion websites, right?
Yep.
They have us as the experts. This community is the expert. And as long as what they're doing is spidering our sites, extracting the tidbits, the fragments, the pieces that matter, passages, things like that, and able to give an answer to a voice search. That, I think, is where it's going. And I think that everything in 3.0, everything in Internet of Things, everything that I had to replace a thermostat in my house. Now, this is a thermostat. I didn't go Next. I didn't go Voice. I didn't do any of that. I plug it in. I go to my computer. It shows up on my Wi-Fi. Everything's going to be connected, right?
Yep, the IoT.
Whether you want it to or not, it's going to be there. And I think it's carried away. I don't know that Web 3.0 will ever really matter for 10 years. I think we have bigger fish to fry.
All right. Love it. Okay, Hobby, hopefully that answers your question there. And we got, if you have any more questions, please ask them before I ask my last few questions here. We're coming close to time, but we have one more here from Bradley on something. Should we pay attention to crawl budget when our site has less than 150 pages? At what point should you worry about it?
Okay, so crawl budget is proportionate to the size of your website. So it isn't like everybody gets a minute. Large sites get a bigger crawl budget. Small sites get a proportionately small crawl budget. 150 pages should not, in theory, matter because it doesn't take forever for the search engine to find all 150. However, what will happen is the crawl occurs typically at the top. It'll follow your navigation, but it'll also follow an XML sitemap. In the XML sitemap, if you have an error in the middle, much like I mentioned in that excerpt you showed, if you have an error in the middle, it'll abandon your crawl. So, in my opinion, you at 150, you shouldn't have a problem. However, if you have a problem with your XML sitemap, you may find that some of your pages aren't going to be spidered. Let me go one step further. Google determines that you may have pages that never show up in a search. Every search, millions and millions of searches, that page is never, ever seen by anybody. And Google doesn't necessarily need to keep every page available for a search. So what they're going to do is tag some of this is my belief, they're going to tag some of the index items as not relevant for any search. They're going to be there, but they're not relevant. So if you did a search and you got 1 million pages in the results, what's considered for that particular query might only be 10,000. And they'll ignore the rest because they don't show up. So if you have pages, even if they're being spidered, if they are not really being used in a search result, Google will just delete them from the index.
Mm-hmm.
And you've probably seen cases where the number of pages that are indexed go up because they're spidered, and then it goes back down, and they go up, and then they go down. And it's because Google is determining that you have pages of low quality or low value to Google. Might be high value to you, but it's low quality to Google.
Mm-hmm.
So you're living on those pages by virtue of your internal links, but not in virtue of traffic from search. So understand, just because you have them all spidered doesn't necessarily mean they're all going to stay in the index.
Yep.
Or anybody's even going to see them in the index. But yeah, you have to get them in there, or they don't get to play at all.
Love it. Okay, let me go ahead and ask one more question before I let you go here. We have another one from Leon. Bruce, can you describe how your programming background played a role in your SEO?
Yeah, that's pretty simple. My programming background, I started out as a mainframe programmer because 800 years ago, that's all there was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I started doing mainframe stuff, and then I worked my way through to Amdahl, became a high-end systems programmer. I ran some of their multi-million-dollar developments and things like that. It's interesting. I decided that Unix was never going to catch on, so I turned down a director's role at Sun
mm-hmm.
and went to Acer instead. I mean, you do things.
Mm-hmm.
Got into networking, things like that. I always kept my fingers in it, but it was more PC-ish stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When I got into SEO and I started looking at how to do it, my very first time, I took out a spreadsheet and I said, in the title tag, these are all the keywords and the number of times. In the description, number of keywords, number of times. And I did this by analyzing a page and filling in columns on a spreadsheet. Then I realized there were gaps. So I went in and plugged the gaps and realized I had to go back and rebuild my spreadsheet, which was taking way too much time.
Mm-hmm.
So I opened up a book. In about a week, I learned Perl,
mm-hmm.
and I started writing tools. So
Excellent!
there you go. If it weren't for the fact that I had programming abilities and Perl was pretty straightforward and simple,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have started writing tools, and that would have totally dampened the speed at which I could do SEO. I got to the point where I could do SEO just 5 times a day, not once a week. And it really did help.
With Perl, right? Perl, there was a few, I can remember like earlier days, a lot of people were using Perl, but I can't remember, but I totally forgot about that. You brought it way back. All right. Let me go. Hobby slipped in a question here real quick. Before I ask my last question, Hobby asked, the aspect ratio on a website layout design affects the SEO score on Lighthouse, true or false?
I believe it is generally false. It looks at a 400 and something by 12,000 pixel area.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't heard the aspect ratio changing anything. I have heard that in the lab they have a fixed size. It may change things in the real world numbers. I haven't checked into that, but I do know. And by the way, folks, the height of a web page in the mobile browser is 12,000. I think it's like 740 pixels. That's how high the page is for the spider.
Mm.
So it's somewhat independent. As long as it is with responsive design, you should be just fine. But the Lighthouse stuff is changing all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a one-size-fits-all answer for that.
All right, Hobby, I hope that answers your question there. But Bruce, this is the last question I ask all my SEO professionals that come on here is like, if someone wanted to get into the SEO industry, what would be your advice to them to get them started?
Well, to some degree, I think you're going to have to be familiar with a website. So it's always good to at least take a standard HTML course and be familiar with what's behind the screen, and that's HTML. Beyond that, I'd advise you to get a job doing it, because there is no trade-off equal to being an apprentice with somebody who knows what they're doing. In-house is good, but the problem with in-house is many times you're dealing with a proprietary system. So I think agency work is better. There's a zillion free courses, and even our membership course, and all sorts of things out there. Attach yourself to somebody that really knows what they're doing, and then follow them. Subscribe to all the major newsletters. Listen to podcasts. You're going to pick up on advice, and the advice can save you sometimes. So I would strongly recommend that you get involved in the community itself. Join some groups. Now, by the way, many times the person asking a question doesn't know the answer, and the person that answers it doesn't know the answer. So it is warned that you really have to be somewhat selective on who you're going to follow. And many times I see things, even in Quora or other sites, where somebody will post an answer, and the end that is just off the wall, just totally bogus. Almost like them as fighting words, kind of get you going. But if you really pay attention, I think it's not so bad. And now you can even get into virtual conferences and see the replays for an economical rate. But you have to decide that it's not a job, it's a career. You have to be a puzzle solver. And if you're a puzzle solver, and it's the kind of thing that when you get up, your desktop, and when we're hiring people, by the way, this is sort of what we're looking for. If your desktop is covered with tools, there's a good chance we want to hire you. If your desktop has nothing to do with SEO, you're not living the life, right? And we want people to really, really love what they're doing. And if you can get yourself as a new person entering the field into a company where everybody around you loves it, it rubs off. And you're going to do much, much better learning it and hearing about it and paying attention to it. You're going to do better. And I'd encourage you to do that. Don't change jobs willy-nilly. By the way, we get resumes where over the last 5 years they've had 10 jobs. Kiss of death. I want somebody that is there long enough to learn and can demonstrate that the company they're with thinks they learned well enough to keep them. That's a big signal to a hiring manager. So don't just change because somebody offers you a quarter more an hour. I mean, that isn't really why you're here. Understand you're going to pay for 2 years. You're going to learn for 2 years. You're going to want to be everywhere for 2 years. You're going to develop relationships. And people you can just say, hey, I have a hairy problem. What's going on? I get those all the time from people I've known for 20 years. They run into something, they ask me, I answer it, we're friends. That's the way the industry should work. Be involved at that level. And then you're going to probably be able to succeed. Is that a weird answer?
Damn!
That's what I thought.
Love it. Okay, Bruce. Thank you so much. We're coming close to time. We're actually over time now, but can you go hold on for one quick second while I sign off real quick? All right. All right, guys, that concludes another episode of the SEO Video Show. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And I will see you next week. Peace out.
Thank you for for watching. Hope you come back next week. Make sure to subscribe. You don't want to miss a thing. Hope you learn something new, cause the vibe is incredible. From the special SEO professionals, SEO video show, let's work. Want to see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre De Vera helping you step it up. No delay right now. Time to level up. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Woo!